The moment her words hit me, it felt like a blade had slipped between my ribs, cold and precise, leaving no blood but stealing my breath. "I'm confused," she said, her voice soft, almost fragile as she stood in our kitchen, her fingers tracing the edge of a chipped coffee mug. The late afternoon light slanted through the window, catching the dust motes suspended in the air, and I stood frozen, staring at the woman I'd loved for 12 years, wondering when confusion had become a synonym for betrayal. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums, heavy with unspoken truths. I'd come home early, expecting to surprise her with takeout from that Thai place she loved, but the bags sat untouched on the counter, their grease stains spreading like accusations. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her gaze darted to the floor, to the window, to the mug, anywhere but me. I wanted to ask, confused about what? But the question lodged in my throat, sharp and immovable, because deep down I already knew. We'd been fraying for months, maybe years, though I'd convinced myself it was just the grind of life, work, bills, the endless cycle of routine. I'd ignored the late nights she spent texting, her phone angle just out of my sight, the way her laughter felt forced when I tried to make her smile. I told myself it was stress, that she was tired, that we were fine. But standing there, watching her fidget, her lips trembling as if holding back a flood, I realized I'd been lying to myself as much as she'd been lying to me. "Do you want to talk about it?" I finally asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. She shook her head, a small jerky motion, and set the mug down with a clink that echoed like a gunshot in the stillness. "Not now," she whispered, and the words felt like a door slamming shut. I nodded, because what else could I do? I picked up the takeout bags, their weight suddenly unbearable, and carried them to the fridge, each step heavy with the knowledge that something was breaking, something I couldn't name yet. That night, I lay awake beside her, the space between us in bed wider than the Grand Canyon. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, as if she too was wrestling with ghosts in the dark. My mind churned, replaying every moment of the past year. The canceled dinners, the vague excuses, the way she'd started locking her phone. I wanted to shake her awake, demand answers, but fear held me back. What if the truth was worse than the not knowing? What if I wasn't ready to hear it? The next morning she was gone before I woke up. A note on the counter read, "At yoga. Back later." Her handwriting was hurried, the letters slanting as if trying to escape the page. I stared at it, my coffee growing cold, and felt a prickle of unease. She hadn't gone to yoga in months. I checked my phone, half expecting a text, but there was nothing. Just a screensaver of us from last summer, grinning at a beach we'd never visit again. I opened her laptop, left carelessly on the dining table, and my heart pounded as I typed her password. It still worked. That small victory felt like a betrayal of its own. Her email was open, and there it was staring back at me. A thread with someone named Chris. Not a name I knew, not a colleague or friend she'd ever mentioned. The subject line was blank, but the messages weren't. "I can't stop thinking about you. When can we meet again? This is killing me, but it feels so right." Each word was a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. I scrolled, my hands shaking, reading promises and plans that didn't include me. A hotel receipt from last month. A photo of them together, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. I closed the laptop, my vision blurring, and sat there, the silence screaming louder than ever. When she came home, I was waiting. The laptop was open again, the screen glowing like an indictment. She froze in the doorway, her yoga bag slipping from her shoulder. "You went through my things," she said, not a question but an accusation, her voice sharp with defiance. "You're confused." I shot back, my voice cracking. "Try finding out. Your wife's been lying to you for months." Her face crumpled, but not with guilt, with anger. "You don't understand," she said, stepping closer, her hands balling into fists. "You never did." The fight that followed was a storm, all thunder and no rain. She admitted to the affair, to Chris, to months of sneaking around, but she framed it as my fault. My long hours, my distraction, my failure to see her. I wanted to scream that I'd tried, that I'd loved her through every argument, every doubt, but the words wouldn't come. Instead I asked, "Do you love him?" She hesitated, and that pause was worse than any answer. "I don't know," she said finally, her voice barely audible. "I just know I'm not happy here." The days that followed were a blur of cold civility. We moved around each other like strangers, her in the guest room, me on the couch. I hired a lawyer not out of spite but because I needed something to hold on to, something to make sense of the chaos. He was calm, methodical, laying out options like pieces on a chessboard, but every word, custody, assets, separation, felt like a nail in the coffin of the life we'd built. I didn't want revenge. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, to understand the hole she'd carved in me. One night, I found her crying in the kitchen, the same mug in her hands now cracked along the rim. "I didn't mean for this," she sobbed, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd married, flawed, human, lost. I wanted to hold her, to tell her we could fix it, but the image of her with him, laughing free, burned too brightly. "You chose this," I said, and the words tasted like ash. She nodded, tears falling onto the counter, and I walked away, my heart breaking all over again. The lawyer's office was sterile, the air thick with the scent of paper and ink. We signed the papers in silence, her signature shaky, mine deliberate. Outside, the sky was gray, heavy with the promise of rain. I didn't look at her as we left, didn't say goodbye. I drove home, our home now just mine, and sat in the empty kitchen, the Thai takeout long gone, the mug still on the counter. I picked it up, felt the crack under my thumb and let it fall. It shattered, pieces scattering across the floor. And I stood there, staring at the mess, knowing some things can't be put back together.